I signify individuals are presently astonished that Trump is betraying Ukraine. He lacks a genuine ideology. It pertains to him what is advantageous for him, and he has been intimately involved with the Russians for an extensive duration. I do not foresee that altering at all for the duration of his presidency.
A lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this, I tell you.
Consequently, a significant portion of the, discourse surrounding Trump being a Russian asset. Some of it is disregarded as unfounded theories, and it is entirely circumstantial evidence. What would be your response to those accusations?
Well, initially, I wish to differentiate between an asset and an agent. An agent is someone who is aware they have formally aligned with the KGB. They can be assigned specific tasks. They are actually remunerated by them. That is not the operational mode of an asset. The KGB made it a point of cultivating influential businessmen. I am recalling Armand Hammer, whose history extends back to the eras of Vladimir Lenin and Joseph Stalin. And he was an exceptionally affluent American oil magnate, who was very much an asset. And he was somewhat aging out when the KGB commenced cultivating, and you can state it is circumstantial, but there exists a considerable quantity of circumstances. I have authored 2 books concerning it. There is one point after another. It is substantiated by a substantial amount of documentation, and we possess on record interviews with Yuri Fitz, who was stationed in Washington with the KGB, recruiting American assets for the KGB during the 1980s, when his colleagues at the New York station were cultivating Donald Trump. How certain are you that Donald Trump is a Russian asset?
I am certainly not sure, but there's currently an underlying purported reports of Trump being recruited by KGB and given a code name Krasnov. With all certainty, he's doing the bidding of Russia, because almost every action tells so. Even from the recent action towards Zelensky at the White House few months ago. I just played the clip earlier for easy reference, that is, before you joining us here live today. Let's watch this report that trended a month ago to buttress the report.
The question tonight is, who is Agent Krasnov? There are some who say it's Donald Trump. Catalina, tell us more, truth or fake?
Well, Mark, this is a rumor, conspiracy theory, whatever you want to call it, that has been going around for a while now, but more recently it's taking on new life on February 20th when Alner Musayev, who is a former Soviet security official in the KGB, claimed here on Facebook that President Donald Trump was recruited by the KGB, the Russian intelligence agency, in 1987, and apparently Donald Trump was assigned the code name Krasnov, as you just mentioned. He says it was in this year that his department, in the 6th department of the KGB of the USSR in Moscow, that they recruited the 40-year-old businessman from the USA. Musayev continues to say that the most important role of his department was the recruitment of businessmen from capitalist countries. So following this publication, these claims spread like wildfire on social media, TikTok, X, you name it. There's even this thread on X purporting to show evidence to support these claims that's already been viewed over 10 million times on X. Claims further amplified by this article published by The Daily Beast, published and later removed, all dissecting these claims that Donald Trump was allegedly a former Russian spy that went by the codename Krasnov.
Agent Krasnov, Donald Trump or not? That is the question. Dissecting these claims then for us, what have you discovered?
Well, Mark, our fact-checking colleagues at Snopes looked into these particular claims. They found that these allegations don't actually line up with official records. While it is true that Donald Trump did visit Moscow in 1987, reportedly to look at possible locations for luxury hotels. However, Snopes found several Russian-language websites that they claim are of unknown trustworthiness with biographies of Musayev, where we find discrepancies in his claims that we saw on Facebook. Musayev, on his claims, says that he worked in the 6th Directorate of the KGB in 1987. However, both of these online biographies place him in the KGB from the years 1979 and 1986, when he moved to the Soviet Union's Ministry of Internal Affairs. Moreover, following this Facebook post, one of the historians that worked on his biography further calls these claims a global circus. He says that the 6th Directorate, where Musayev used to work in the KGB, was not actually involved in recruiting foreign citizens. Other sources confirm the same information in this book. For example, the Central Intelligence Agency explains that the 6th Directorate of the KGB was actually responsible for enforcing financial and trade laws, as well as guarding against economic espionage, while the 1st Directorate of the KGB branch was the one that's responsible for recruiting foreign assets, such as would-be Donald Trump.
But you trace back to 1980, when Donald Trump was truly just commencing and experienced what was genuinely his initial successful real estate endeavor. He has encountered numerous failures. This particular one was actually a success. When he he developed the Grand Hyatt Hotel, situated near Grand Central Station here in New York, and he required, like every major hotel, a large quantity of television sets. And he ultimately procured them from the Joy L Electronics store, which served as a front for the KGB, and I acquired that information from a former agent with the KGB, Yuri Fitz. And if it truly all originated from that, they dispatched a spotter agent. That is someone who is attempting to recruit talent for someone who can assist the KGB at a later time, and they approached Donald Trump, and that commencement initiated a sequence of meetings and events which culminated in Trump's initial visit to Moscow in 1987.
Now, I acknowledge that these occurrences span decades. Obviously, you are referencing the 1980s. We are in 2025 now. If you were compelled to select 3 things that constituted the most substantial pieces of evidence that Donald Trump was a Russian asset, what would you choose?
So in 1984, an individual named David Bogan arrived at Trump Tower, which is a crown jewel and Trump's building among his Trump's buildings. And he deposited $6 million on the table and acquired 5 condominiums. What was noteworthy about that was, according to FBI files, Bogdan was a member of the Russian mafia, and this marked the first of numerous such individuals who were affiliated with the Russian mafia, and this marked the first of numerous such individuals who were affiliated with the Russian mafia. It was reported that they discovered a total of 13 individuals who either resided in Trump Tower or other Trump buildings or owned condominiums in other ones. Consequently, Trump was essentially hosting the Russian mafia for numerous years before he even campaigned for president. So that is one event. Another was, as I mentioned, in 1980 when he traveled to Moscow in 1987. This was a visit that was arranged by the KGB, according to Yuri Fitz, who was in the KGB, and when Trump arrived there, he was somewhat groomed by the KGB. He returned, and many individuals have forgotten this, but he undertook a brief unsuccessful run for president in 1988, and among other things, he placed a full-page advertisement in the New York Times that was assailing America's alliance with NATO. Individuals are presently astonished that Trump is betraying Ukraine. He is betraying Europe. He is siding with Putin instead of that. Well, he did it as early as 1987. when he was commencing his run for the presidency in 1988.
Alright, I have heard enough. Thank you for bringing me up today, it's an honor. It's time to say goodbye now.
This is the end of today's edition. Thank you for following up until this moment. You can subscribe to the channel if you love us well enough. See you in the next one.